Use synthetic division to check if the binomial is a factor of the polynomial. Okay, so we want to figure out if this binomial is a factor of this polynomial, and it's telling us to use synthetic division to check. So we know how to do synthetic division, but how are we going to figure out if it's a factor or not? Well, look, before we do it with the polynomials, let's just look at an example with numbers. Maybe let's do this. Is 2 a factor of 48? And you might look at that and say right away, yeah, 2 is a factor of 48. Because 48 is an even number, therefore 2 is a factor. And that's true. Yes, 2 is a factor of 48. Let's do this, though. Let's divide 48 by 2. And let's do it long division style. So if we divide 48 by 2, set it up like this. Let's see. How many times does 2 go into 4? 2. And then we do 2 times 2 is a 4. Bring that down. Subtract. 4 minus 4 is a 0. Bring down the 8. And now we check. Does 2 go into 8? Yes. How many times? 4. Multiply 4 times 2. We get an 8. Subtract. 8 minus 8 is a 0. And at this point, we're done because there's no more numbers here. So this 0 down here, if you remember from long division, this is our remainder. So the answer here, when we divide 48 by 2, is 24, remainder 0. And we already knew that 2 was a factor. So what I want you to see here is that when we have a factor, the remainder is 0. And you know what? That's always going to be true. Not just for this case. You could go ahead and try it with the different number and its factor. Divide it out, long division, and you're always going to get a remainder of 0. If you have a factor, the remainder is a 0. But if you have a number that's not a factor, like let's try another example. Let's do this one. Is 3 a factor of 65? Is 3 a factor of 65? That would mean 65 is evenly divisible by 3. I don't think it is. But we can check here. Let's do long division. Let's see, how many times does 3 go into 65? 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 is a 6. Subtract, that's a 0. Bring down the 5. How many times does 3 go into 5? Once. 1 times 3 is a 3. 5 minus 3 is a 2. Now look, this is our remainder. So here, 65 divided by 3 is 21, remainder 2. Since the remainder here is not a 0, that means 3 is not a factor. So we're going to use this same idea when we're looking at our polynomials. We're going to use synthetic division to divide, and if we get a remainder of 0, that means we found a factor. If the remainder is any other number, it's not a factor. Okay, so let's clear this out. And now we can do it here with our polynomial. So use synthetic division. All right, so let's set up the synthetic division. Here it is. This is our k value. Change the sign. So negative 5 goes here. And let's see, we can label our columns that v to the power 3. That's the biggest exponent. Constant. Okay. Let's line up our coefficients. Okay, there's the setup for synthetic division. Now let's go ahead and do it. So take the 1, bring that all the way down. And then remember, we're always multiplying here. Any number below the line gets multiplied by the negative 5. 1 times negative 5 is a negative 5. and add down the column. 11 plus negative 5 is a positive 6. Repeat the process, multiply 6 times negative 5. That gives us a negative 30. Put it here above the line. Add down the column. 24 plus negative 30, negative 6. Repeat the process, multiply negative 6 times negative 5. That'll give us a positive 30. And last time here, add down the column. Negative 30 plus 30 is a 0. All right, can you already see what our answer is? Do we have a factor, yes or no? Well, remember here, these coefficients down here, these numbers are the coefficients of our answer to this division. Now, this is v to the power 3, so drop it by 1, v to the power 2. And this is v, this is our constant term. This is our remainder. And this is what we really want to focus in on to answer this question. Check if it's a factor. Remember what we just saw. If it is a factor, the remainder will be 0. And that's what we have, remainder 0. That means we found a factor. So because the remainder is 0, we're going to answer this by saying yes. V plus 5 is a factor.